I am Camilla Dawson, 62, and my heart still breaks every time I walk past our empty garage. Thomas and I shared 35 years together in our Connecticut home before cancer took him 2 years ago. The 1967 Ford Mustang he lovingly restored over 20 years was more than just a car. It was his legacy, our shared joy, a time capsule of memories. But last month, I opened that garage door to find it empty. When my son finally answered my frantic calls, his words cut deeper than any knife. If you have ever had something precious taken from you by someone you trusted, let me know where you are watching from. Like and subscribe if you want to hear how a simple phone call changed everything in this betrayal story. Thomas and I met in college and built a beautiful life together in our colonial-style home in Fairfield County. He worked as a mechanical engineer, but his true passion was always classic cars. You should have seen the way his eyes lit up whenever he talked about engines and restoration techniques. That sparkle was what made me fall in love with him all those years ago. In the summer of '98, we were driving back from visiting my sister when Thomas suddenly pulled over at a junkyard on Route 7. I remember being confused until I saw what caught his eye. There, partially covered in weeds and rust, was a 1967 Ford Mustang Fastback. It was in terrible condition, but Thomas walked around it like he had discovered buried treasure. "That is the car, Cam," he whispered, using his special nickname for me. "That is the project I have been waiting for." The car cost us $800, and the towing fee was almost as much. Our son, Adam, who was 12 at the time, thought his father had lost his mind buying what he called a piece of junk. But Thomas just smiled and said, "Son, this is not junk. This is potential. This is history. Someday you will understand." The Mustang took up permanent residence in our garage, and thus began Thomas's 20-year labor of love. Every weekend and many weeknights, he would be out there working on it. He documented everything, photographed every step, and researched extensively to ensure authentic restoration. I would bring him coffee and sit watching him work, admiring his patience and dedication. As Adam grew up, Thomas tried to involve him in the restoration. There were some good moments, like when they rebuilt the transmission together during Adam's high school years, or when Thomas taught him to carefully sand and prepare the body for painting. But as Adam entered college, his interest waned. He became more focused on his business degree and climbing the corporate ladder than on what he started calling Dad's expensive hobby. Thomas never pushed, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. "Not everyone gets it, Cam," he would say. "But that is okay. This car will stay in our family. It is our history, too." When Thomas was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the prognosis was grim. 6 months, maybe less. During those final months, he worked on the car whenever he had the strength. 2 weeks before he passed, he finally completed the restoration. I will never forget that day. Despite his weakness, he insisted on sitting in the driver's seat while Adam and I pushed the car out into the sunlight. The candy apple red paint gleamed, and every chrome detail sparkled. It was perfect, just like he had envisioned all those years ago. "Promise me something, Cam," he said that day, his voice weak, but his eyes still bright. "Promise me this stays in the family. This car is not just metal and paint. It is 20 years of my life. It is us." I promised. Of course I did. After Thomas passed, that car became my connection to him. I would sit in the garage sometimes, just looking at it, remembering him working on it. His hands always stained with grease, that focused expression he would get. I could not bring myself to drive it, but I made sure it was maintained properly, just as he would have wanted. Adam seemed to understand at first. He would check on the car whenever he visited, making sure the battery was charged and the tires properly inflated. "Dad would be happy," he would say, and I believed him. Then Adam met Jessica at a corporate retreat in Aspen. Their whirlwind romance led to a wedding just 3 months after Thomas's funeral. I thought it was too soon, but I kept my concerns to myself. Adam was 35, a successful account manager at a marketing firm in New York City. He was old enough to make his own decisions, and if Jessica made him happy during his grief, who was I to judge? I just never expected that this decision would lead to the betrayal that shattered what remained of our family. The changes in Adam were subtle at first. The frequency of his visits decreased from weekly to monthly, then to special occasions only. Our Sunday phone calls became shorter, often interrupted by Jessica's voice in the background, reminding him of some appointment or event they could not miss. Jessica came from a wealthy family in Manhattan and had expectations about lifestyle that seemed excessive to me. Her social media accounts, which she insisted I follow, showcased an endless parade of expensive restaurants, designer clothing, and exotic vacations. Building our brand, she called it, whatever that meant. 6 months after their wedding, they came for dinner. It was the first time Jessica had been to the house since they returned from their honeymoon in Bali. While I was finishing dinner preparations, I overheard her in the living room. "This place is so dated," she said to Adam, not realizing how her voice carried in our home. "I do not understand why your mother does not sell it and move into something more modern, and all these old photographs everywhere. It is like a museum to your father." Adam's response was what hurt the most. "I know, babe. We will work on her. Maybe she will come around and realize it is time to move on." Move on? As if my 35 years with Thomas were something to be packed away like seasonal decorations. During dinner, Jessica barely touched the roast I had prepared, Thomas's favorite recipe that I had made special for the occasion. Instead, she dominated the conversation with stories about people I did not know and parties I would never be invited to. When I tried to share a memory about Thomas, she skillfully changed the subject. After dinner, Adam asked for money. Not directly, of course. He mentioned some investment opportunity that was guaranteed to provide significant returns. They just needed $20,000 to get in on the ground floor. "We would ask Jessica's parents," he explained, "but we do not want them thinking we cannot stand on our own 2 feet. I did not give him the money. Thomas and I had always been cautious with our finances, and something about the request felt wrong. Adam's jaw tightened in that way it did when he was a teenager and did not get his way. Jessica's smile became even more artificial. Before they left, Jessica asked to use the bathroom. 15 minutes later, Adam went looking for her and found her in the garage admiring the Mustang. "This must be worth a fortune now," I heard her say. "Fully restored classics are going for big money these days." That was the first time I felt real unease about the car's safety. That night, I checked that the garage was securely locked before I went to bed. The requests for money became more frequent. Adam claimed their condo needed unexpected repairs. Jessica had a medical issue not covered by insurance. Their investment had not paid off as expected, and they needed a bailout. Each time I gently refused, suggesting they speak with a financial advisor instead. During a visit in early spring, I overheard Jessica on the phone in our kitchen. "Paris in June would be perfect," she was saying. "I have always wanted to see Paris in June. All the fashion bloggers say it is the absolute best time." When she noticed me standing there, she quickly ended her call. "Just dreaming," she said with a laugh that did not reach her eyes. "Adam says we cannot afford Europe this year, but a girl can dream, right?" Later that evening, I found Adam in the garage looking at the Mustang with an expression I could not quite read. "Dad would have wanted me to enjoy this car too," he said quietly. "Of course he would." I agreed, thinking he meant taking it for occasional drives, which I would have welcomed. "We could take it out this weekend if you want. The weather is supposed to be beautiful." Adam shook his head. "That is not what I meant, Mom." He did not elaborate, and I did not press. Perhaps I should have. 2 weeks later, Elaine, my best friend since college and a widow herself, came over for our weekly lunch. As we sat on the patio, she mentioned seeing Adam and Jessica at an expensive restaurant in the city. Jessica was wearing what looked like a brand new tennis bracelet, Elaine said hesitantly. It looked quite expensive. I just thought it was strange considering Adam told you they were struggling financially. The unease I had been feeling crystallized into something colder, something like fear. That night, I checked the garage twice before going to bed. The Mustang sat gleaming under its cover, still safe. I ran my hand along its perfect finish and whispered to Thomas, "I am keeping my promise. Do not worry." I just did not realize how hard keeping that promise would become. My 62nd birthday fell on a perfect May Saturday. I had planned a small celebration, just family and a few close friends at my favorite local restaurant. Adam and Jessica were 45 minutes late. When they finally arrived, Jessica was wearing a new dress that still had the faint crease lines of its price tag, and Adam was checking his phone every 2 minutes. "Sorry we are late, Mom," Adam said, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. "Traffic was terrible." Jessica did not apologize. Instead, she immediately launched into a story about a celebrity they had spotted at brunch in Soho earlier that day. I noticed she was wearing a new necklace, a delicate gold piece with what appeared to be real diamonds. "That is a beautiful necklace," I commented when she paused for breath. "This old thing?" Jessica laughed, touching it with perfectly manicured fingers. "Just a little anniversary gift from Adam." My heart sank. Their first anniversary was still a month away, and just last week, Adam had called asking if he could borrow $5,000 to cover some credit card debt. I had reluctantly agreed, transferring the money with a gentle suggestion that they might need to cut back on expenses. Seeing the necklace, I realized my advice and my money had gone in very different directions. During the meal, Jessica dominated the conversation as usual, while Adam remained distracted by his phone. When the topic of summer plans came up, Jessica mentioned how all their friends were traveling to Europe. "We are just so busy with work," she sighed dramatically. "And money is so tight right now. I do not know how we will ever afford a proper vacation." I caught Elaine's eye across the table. She had seen the necklace too. Later that evening, as everyone was leaving, I pulled Adam aside. "Is everything okay financially? I noticed Jessica's new necklace, and I know you mentioned being tight on money." Adam's face hardened. "Are you keeping track of our spending now, Mom? The necklace was a good deal. I know what I'm doing." "I am just concerned, honey. If you need help creating a budget," Jessica overheard and joined us, slipping her arm through Adam's. "A budget? Oh, that is sweet. But we are adults, Camilla. We can manage our own money without financial advice from someone who has never even had a real career." I felt like I had been slapped. I had worked as a school librarian for 25 years before retiring to care for Thomas during his illness. Jessica knew this. Adam knew this. Yet he said nothing to defend me. They left shortly after, and I spent the remainder of my birthday feeling hollow, wondering when my son had become someone who would allow his wife to speak to his mother that way. 3 days later, I came home from grocery shopping to find Jessica's luxury SUV in my driveway. This was unusual. Jessica rarely came to the house without Adam. I found her in the garage, her phone in hand, taking photos of the Mustang. "Jessica, what are you doing here?" She jumped slightly, but recovered quickly. "Oh, Camilla, you startled me. Adam asked me to take some photos of the car, for insurance purposes." It was a lie, and we both knew it. Adam had already documented the car extensively for insurance when Thomas passed. Something cold settled in my stomach. "Where is Adam?" "Work meeting. He could not get away." She was already heading for the door, her high heels clicking against the concrete floor. "Thanks for letting me in. I will just see myself out." I called Adam immediately, but the call went to voicemail. When he finally called back that evening, his explanation was vague. "We were just updating our personal inventory, Mom. For our renter's insurance. Nothing to worry about. Jessica was taking close-up photos of the engine, Adam. That seems strange for a general inventory. Why are you being so paranoid? He snapped. It is just a car. Not to Thomas, not to me, and once not to Adam either. After that incident, I began checking the garage multiple times a day. I installed a new deadbolt on the garage door and kept the key with me at all times. Perhaps I was being paranoid, but something deep inside was warning me that the Mustang, this last physical connection to Thomas, was in danger. At night, I would dream of Thomas sitting in the car looking at me with sad eyes. Remember your promise, Cam, he would say before fading away. I would wake up in tears, the weight of his absence heavy on my chest. Elaine grew increasingly concerned about me. You cannot keep living like this, Camilla, she said during one of our lunch dates. All this stress is not good for you. Have you considered putting the car in storage somewhere? Somewhere Adam and Jessica would not know about? I considered it, but could not bring myself to move the car from the garage where Thomas had spent so many happy hours. It felt like another loss, another separation I was not ready for. Thomas wanted it to stay in the family, I explained. Moving it feels like breaking my promise. I do not think Thomas meant for his car to become a source of such anxiety for you, Elaine replied gently. And I do not trust the way Jessica looks at that car, or the way Adam has been acting lately. I knew she was right to be concerned, but I never imagined just how right she would be. The morning it happened was deceptively beautiful. Early June sunshine streamed through my kitchen windows as I made my morning coffee, thinking about the garden work I planned to do that day. Thomas had always loved our garden, especially the rose bushes he had planted along the back fence. Tending to them had become another way for me to feel connected to him. It was my routine to check the garage first thing every morning. I carried my coffee mug with me, unlocked the side door, and stepped inside. The familiar scent of motor oil and leather polish that always reminded me of Thomas was strangely absent. When I flipped on the light, my coffee mug slipped from my fingers and shattered on the concrete floor. The garage was empty. The Mustang was gone. For several seconds, I could not move. My vision tunneled, and my knees felt like they might give way. This could not be happening. I had locked the garage. I had the key. How could the car be gone? My first coherent thought was that it had been stolen. I fumbled for my phone with trembling hands and called the police, reporting the theft of the Mustang with its license plate number and full description. The officer took down all the details and promised to send someone out. While waiting for the police, I tried calling Adam. No answer. I sent text messages. No response. A terrible suspicion began to form in my mind, but I pushed it away. My son would never do this to me. He would never take the one thing his father had left behind, the thing I had promised Thomas would stay in our family. I checked social media. Jessica had posted a photo just 2 hours earlier. My hands went cold when I saw it. She and Adam were at the airport, all smiles, with the caption, "Paris, here we come. Dream vacation finally happening. Hat blessed, #married life, #Paris." There was no mention of how this sudden trip to Paris had been financed. The police officer arrived and took my statement. As I was explaining about the car's significance, my phone rang. It was Adam. I excused myself to take the call. "Mom, the police just called me about Dad's car," he said without preamble. His voice was defensive, already prepared for battle. "Where is it, Adam? What have you done?" A long pause. "Then I sold it." The world seemed to stop. Those 3 words hit me with physical force, making me grab the kitchen counter for support. "You what?" "I sold it, Mom. It was just sitting there depreciating. Jessica and I needed the money." "For Paris." My voice sounded strange, distant, as if someone else was speaking. Yes, for Paris and other things. Jessica has wanted to go since we got married. Life is for the living, Mom. Dad is gone. That car was not yours to sell. My voice rose with a strength I did not know I still possessed. Your father spent 20 years restoring that car. I promised him it would stay in the family. Oh, get over it. Adam's voice turned cold, cruel in a way I had never heard before. It was just a car, not Dad. You need to move on. Jessica says your attachment to Dad's things is not healthy. I was speechless. This could not be my son speaking, the boy Thomas, and I had raised the young man who had once helped his father carefully polish that car's chrome trim. How did you even get it out? I have the only key to the new lock. Adam laughed, a short, harsh sound. Mom, I made a copy the last time I was over. I knew you were being weird about the car. Jessica and I came by yesterday while you were at your book club. We had a transport service pick it up. The calculated nature of their deception felt like another blow. While I was discussing Pride and Prejudice with my friends, my son was betraying me and his father's memory. How much? I asked, my voice now eerily calm. How much did you sell my husband's 20-year labor of love for? $85,000, Adam said, sounding proud. More than enough for a first-class trip to Paris and to pay off some of our debt. The dealer said we got a good price considering the market. The police officer was watching me with concern. I held up one finger, asking for a moment. Who? I managed to ask. Who did you sell it to? Some classic car dealership in Hartford. Johnson's or Jackson's, something like that. Look, Mom, what is done is done. Jessica and I are about to board. I will call you when we get back. Adam Dawson, you come home right now and fix this. That car was not yours. My name was on the title too, Mom. Adam said, his voice smug. Dad added me years ago, remember? In case something happened to him. Well, something did happen. He died, and now I have decided what to do with the car. Jessica and I have to go. Our flight is boarding. The call disconnected. I stood there, phone in hand, tears streaming down my face. The police officer approached cautiously. Ma'am, is everything okay? I shook my head, unable to speak. How could I explain that my husband was gone, and now the car that had been his passion, his legacy, was gone too? And worse, that my own son had taken it, had planned and executed this betrayal. After explaining the situation to the officer, he regretfully informed me that this was now a civil matter, not a criminal one. If Adam's name was indeed on the title, he legally had the right to sell the car. I thanked him for his time and closed the door behind him. Then I sank to the floor of my entryway and sobbed like I had not since the day Thomas died. Later that evening, Jessica posted more photos. The couple toasting with champagne on the plane, their arrival at Charles de Gaulle Airport, their first glimpse of the Eiffel Tower. Each image was a twist of the knife each smiling selfie paid for with Thomas's legacy. I sent Adam one text. Your father would be heartbroken. He never replied. When Adam and Jessica returned a week later, they came to the house unannounced. I had not left home much during that week. Friends had called, but I had not answered. Food had been delivered, but most remained untouched in the refrigerator. I had spent hours in the empty garage, sitting on the stool where I used to watch Thomas work, feeling his absence more acutely than ever. Jessica breezed in first, suntanned, and wearing new clothes, talking excitedly about Paris. She stopped short when she saw my face. Oh, Camilla, you are not still upset about that old car, are you? Adam told me you would get over it by the time we got back." Adam at least had the decency to look uncomfortable as he followed her into the living room. "Mom, we need to talk about this rationally." Rationally. My voice was barely a whisper. "You want to talk rationally about stealing and selling your father's most prized possession, the car he spent 2 decades restoring, the car I promised him would stay in our family." "It was not stealing," Adam said defensively. "My name was on the title. As a safeguard, not so you could sell it the minute your wife wanted a vacation." Jessica rolled her eyes. "It was just a car, an old car that was taking up space and collecting dust. At least now it served a purpose. We made memories in Paris that will last a lifetime." "And what about my memories?" I asked, my voice rising. "What about your father's 20 years of work? What about his legacy?" Adam's face hardened. "Legacy. It was a hobby, Mom. Just a way for Dad to pass the time. He spent money we could have used for better things like family vacations or a bigger house. That car was never as important as you made it out to be." I stared at my son, not recognizing the person standing before me. "How can you say that you helped him restore it? You were there when he finished it just before he died. You saw what it meant to him." "I humored him," Adam said coldly. "Just like I have been humoring you. But Jessica is right. It is time to move on. The car is gone. We used the money. End of story." In that moment, I saw clearly what had happened to my son. He had become someone else entirely, someone who valued things and status over family and promises, someone who could dismiss his father's passion as a waste of time and money, someone who could break his mother's heart without remorse. "I want you both to leave," I said quietly. "Mom, do not be dramatic," Adam started. "Get out of my house." I had never raised my voice to my adult son before, but the words exploded from me. "Get out until you realize what you have done, until you understand what that car meant, until you can be the son your father and I raised you to be." They left Jessica muttering something about me being mentally unstable and Adam looking annoyed rather than remorseful. I locked the door behind them, then went to the garage and collapsed on the concrete floor where the Mustang should have been parked. It was there surrounded by the ghosts of Thomas's tools and the faint scent of his favorite car polish that I truly understood the depth of my loss. I had lost Thomas to cancer, a cruel fate beyond anyone's control. But I had lost the car, and in many ways, my son, to something much worse, selfishness and betrayal. For a week after the confrontation, I moved through my days in a fog of grief and betrayal. I ignored calls from Adam, who had left several voicemails alternating between defensive justifications and accusations that I was overreacting. Jessica had posted more Paris photos, each one a fresh wound. Elaine brought meals that I barely touched and sat with me in patient silence when I could not find words for my pain. On the 8th day after discovering the Mustang missing, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost did not answer, but something compelled me to pick up. "Mrs. Dawson? Camilla Dawson?" a deep male voice asked. "Yes, this is she." "Mrs. Dawson. My name is Harold Johnson. I own Johnson Classic Motors in Hartford. I believe I purchased your husband's 1967 Mustang Fastback from your son recently." My heart began to race. Yes, you did, without my knowledge or consent." There was a pause on the line. "That is what I suspected, ma'am. Something did not sit right with me about the transaction. Your son seemed in an awful hurry, and when I mentioned what a beautiful restoration job it was, he did not seem to know much about it." I gripped the phone tighter. My husband Thomas spent 20 years restoring that car. It was his passion. I could tell, Harold said, his voice warm with respect. That is not the kind of work someone does unless they truly love it. Listen, Mrs. Dawson, the real reason I am calling is that I found something when I was doing my standard inspection of the vehicle. Found something? Yes, ma'am. There is a hidden compartment under the driver's seat. Custom-built, very clever work. I would not have found it except that I have been working with classics for 30 years and know all the tricks. Inside was a sealed envelope with your name on it and a small wooden box. My hands began to shake so badly I had to put the phone on speaker and set it down. A letter from my husband. I believe so, ma'am. The envelope has "For Camilla" written on it, and the handwriting matches the detailed restoration logs that were in the glove compartment. I have not opened it, of course. It is not my place. Tears filled my eyes. Even now, 2 years after his death, Thomas was reaching out to me. He had left something in the car, something meant only for me, and Adam had nearly taken that from me too. Mr. Johnson, is there any way I could come see the car to retrieve what my husband left? Of course, Mrs. Dawson. That is why I am calling. The car is still here at my dealership. I have not put it on the floor yet. I would be happy to meet you whenever is convenient for you. We arranged for me to come to the dealership that afternoon. I called Elaine immediately and asked if she could drive me, not trusting my emotional state behind the wheel. She arrived within the hour, concerned but supportive as always. The drive to Hartford took just over 40 minutes, but it felt like hours. My mind raced with possibilities. What had Thomas left for me? Why had he hidden it? Had he somehow known that the car might someday be sold against my wishes? Johnson Classic Motors was a well-maintained facility on the outskirts of Hartford. The showroom featured several immaculately restored vehicles, their chrome and paint gleaming under professional lighting. An older gentleman with silver hair and kind eyes approached as soon as we entered. Mrs. Dawson, I am Harold Johnson. Thank you for coming. I shook his offered hand. Thank you for calling me, Mr. Johnson. This is my friend Elaine. Harold nodded at Elaine, then turned back to me. The Mustang is in our detail shop out back. Would you like to see it? I nodded, not trusting my voice. He led us through the showroom to a separate building where several cars were being worked on by technicians in crisp uniforms. And there it was, Thomas's Mustang, its candy apple red paint just as vibrant as the day he had finished it. My legs nearly gave way at the sight. Elaine steadied me with a supportive arm around my waist. It truly is a magnificent restoration, Harold said softly. Your husband was incredibly talented. The attention to detail is remarkable. I approached the car, slowly running my fingers along its perfect finish, just as I had done countless times in our garage. It still felt like Thomas, somehow like his hands, had imbued the metal with his spirit through all those years of patient work. Would you like me to show you the compartment? Harold asked. I nodded, and he opened the driver's door. Harold reached under the seat and pressed something I could not see. With a soft click, a section of the floorboard beneath the seat slid back, revealing a small, hidden space. From it, he carefully removed a leather-bound envelope and a small wooden box, both remarkably preserved. Your husband was very clever with this hiding spot. It is not part of the original design. He must have added it during the restoration. I took the items with trembling hands. The envelope was heavy, substantial. On the front, in Thomas's distinctive handwriting, were the words, "For Camilla, when the time comes." Would you like some privacy, Mrs. Dawson? Harold asked gently. I looked up at him through tears. Yes, please. Just a few minutes. Harold nodded understandingly. Take all the time you need. There is a comfortable office just through that door. I will make sure you are not disturbed. Elaine asked if I wanted her to come with me. I squeezed her hand gratefully but shook my head. I need to do this alone, Elaine. But thank you. In the quiet office, I sat down with Thomas's final gifts. My hands shook as I carefully opened the envelope. Inside was not one letter, but a collection of them, each dated starting from the day he had purchased the Mustang and continuing through to just days before he died. The first one began, "My dearest Cam, today I bought the car of my dreams, and I am starting this journal for you. Each step of this restoration will be a letter to you so that someday, when I am gone, you will have this record of our life together, told through the story of this car." Through my tears, I began to read 20 years of love letters disguised as restoration notes. Thomas had documented not just the rebirth of the Mustang, but our life together, our joys and struggles, Adam's childhood milestones, our dreams and fears. Each mechanical challenge overcame was paired with a life event or a declaration of love. The final letter was dated just 3 days before he died. "My beloved Cam, the car is finished, but I fear my own restoration project has run out of time. The doctors say days may be a week. Not enough time to say all the things I still want to say to you. I have hidden these letters in our Mustang because I suspect that someday Adam may try to sell it. I have seen how he looks at it sometimes, calculating its value. I have seen how Jessica eyes it when she thinks no one is watching. I hope I am wrong. I hope our son honors what this car means to us. But if I am right, and someday you find these letters through a stranger's kindness, know this: the car was never the point, Cam. It was the journey. The thousands of hours in our garage with you bringing me coffee and listening to me talk about carburetors and manifolds. It was teaching Adam how to use tools properly, and the pride in his eyes when we got the engine to turn over for the first time. It was having a project that spanned the same years our love grew and deepened. In the wooden box is my father's pocket watch. I had it restored too, in secret. Another broken thing made whole again. Keep it as a reminder that time is precious, but love endures. I have made arrangements with my lawyer just in case. If Adam sells the car, there are papers that will help you get it back. The car is legally yours, Cam. I transferred full ownership to you last year. My lawyer has all the documentation. Forgive Adam if he betrays this trust. He is young and does not understand yet what truly matters in life. But do not let him take advantage of your generous heart either. I have loved you completely, Camilla, every minute of every day for 35 years. The greatest restoration of my life was not this car, but my soul, which you made whole by loving me. Until we meet again, Thomas." I clutched the letters to my chest and sobbed. Even from beyond, Thomas had tried to protect me. He had known somehow what might happen. And he had left me not only his words, but a way to reclaim what was rightfully mine. With shaking hands, I opened the wooden box. Inside was a beautiful gold pocket watch, gleaming as if new, though I recognized it as the tarnished timepiece that had belonged to Thomas's father. I had not seen it in years. Thomas must have had it restored in secret, another broken thing made whole through patience and care. The inscription inside read, "Time passes, love remains." There was a soft knock on the door, and Harold peeked in. "Mrs. Dawson, are you all right?" I wiped my tears and nodded. "Yes, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for your kindness. You have no idea what this means to me." He entered the room and sat down across from me. "If you do not mind me asking, how much did your son say I paid for the car?" $85,000. Harold's expression darkened. "Mrs. Dawson, I paid your son $175,000 for that Mustang. It is one of the finest restorations I have ever seen with documentation and provenance. In this market, it is worth every penny of that." The revelation of this additional deception hit me hard. Adam had lied about the amount, likely pocketing the difference without Jessica's knowledge. Mr. Johnson, my husband left a note saying he transferred ownership of the car to me. That his lawyer has the documentation. If that is true, then your son sold you car without legal right to do so, Harold finished grimly. Mrs. Dawson, if you can prove ownership, I will of course return the car to you immediately. I want no part in something underhanded. But you paid so much money. Harold waved his hand dismissively. I can reclaim that through legal channels. Your husband's car belongs with you. Besides, he added with a small smile, I have a feeling your son might suddenly find the funds to repay me once he understands the legal implications of what he has done. For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. Thomas, even in death, had found a way to keep his promise. And in Harold Johnson, I had found an unexpected ally. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I will contact Thomas's lawyer immediately. As Elaine and I prepared to leave, Harold handed me his business card. Please let me know how this resolves, Mrs. Dawson. And if you ever need anything related to the Mustang maintenance or otherwise, please do not hesitate to call. Your husband's craftsmanship deserves to be preserved. I clutched Thomas's letters, the pocket watch, and Harold's card as we drove home, feeling Thomas's presence stronger than I had since the day he died. He had known. He had prepared. And somehow he had reached across time to let me know that I was not alone in this fight. The morning after my visit to Johnson Classic Motors, I called the number for Thomas's lawyer that he had included in his final letter. Jonathan Mercer had been Thomas's colleague and friend for years before becoming our family attorney. I had not spoken to him since finalizing Thomas's estate. Camilla, he said warmly when his secretary put me through. It is good to hear from you. How are you doing? Not well, Jonathan, I admitted. Something has happened with Thomas's Mustang. There was a pause on the line. He sold it, did not he, Adam? My breath caught. You knew this might happen? Thomas suspected it might. That is why he came to see me about 6 months before he passed. He wanted to make sure the car would be protected. He mentioned documents in his letter. Something about transferring ownership to me. Yes, I have those papers right here in your file. Thomas legally transferred sole ownership of the Mustang to you. He did it quietly, because he did not want to create family tension during his illness, but he was quite firm about it. He said, John, that car is for Camilla. It is 20 years of our life together. The transfer paperwork is completely legal and filed with the DMV. Relief washed over me. So, when Adam sold it, he sold property that was not legally his to sell, Jonathan confirmed. Even if his name was on an old title, the new title supersedes that. The car belongs to you, Camilla. Your signature would be required for any legal sale. The buyer, Mr. Johnson, said he paid $175,000 for the car. Adam told me $85,000? Jonathan made a disapproving sound. That complicates things but does not change the legal reality. The sale was not valid. Would you like me to handle this for you, Camilla? Yes, please, I said, feeling strength returning to my voice. And Jonathan Thomas left letters hidden in the car. He knew this might happen. That sounds like Thomas, Jonathan said, a smile evident in his voice. Always thinking ahead, always protecting those he loved. Let me make some calls. I will be in touch very soon. True to his word, Jonathan called back that afternoon. I have spoken with Harold Johnson. He is a reputable businessman and is being extremely cooperative. He has agreed to return the car to you immediately, with the understanding that we will pursue Adam for the return of the purchase price. What happens next? I suggest we arrange a meeting with Adam, today if possible. I have drafted a formal letter outlining the legal situation. He needs to understand the seriousness of his actions. I agreed, and Jonathan suggested using his office for the meeting, providing a neutral professional setting. I called Adam, who initially refused to come. I do not have time for more drama about Dad's car, Mom. Jessica and I are still jet-lagged. This is not a request, Adam, I said firmly. This is a legal matter. Either you meet us at Jonathan Mercer's office at 4 o'clock today, or the next communication you receive will be from the police. There was a shocked silence on the line. The police? Are you serious? Deadly serious. 4 o'clock. Bring Jessica. Adam and Jessica arrived at the law office looking annoyed and defensive. Jessica was wearing a new designer handbag that I had no doubt was purchased with Thomas's car money. Adam's expression was a mixture of irritation and unease when he saw Jonathan. What is this about, Mom? Why is Dad's lawyer here? Jonathan gestured for them to sit. I have asked you here because we need to discuss a serious legal matter concerning the 1967 Ford Mustang that you recently sold to Harold Johnson of Johnson Classic Motors. That car was mine to sell, Adam said immediately. My name was on the title. Jonathan slid a document across the table. This is the current title for the vehicle in question. As you can see, it lists Camilla Dawson as the sole owner. Your father transferred full ownership to your mother in May of 2 years ago, 7 months before his death. Adam stared at the document, his face draining of color. That is not possible. He never told me. Nevertheless, it is the legal reality, Jonathan continued. Which means you sold a vehicle that you did not own. That constitutes auto theft under Connecticut law, a Class D felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison and fines up to $5,000. Jessica gasped. Prison? This is ridiculous. It was just a car. I finally spoke. It was not just a car, Jessica. It was Thomas's legacy. Something he specifically wanted to remain in our family. Something he legally ensured would be protected. Mr. Johnson has agreed to return the vehicle to Mrs. Dawson, Jonathan continued. However, this leaves the matter of the $175,000 he paid you, Adam. Jessica's head whipped toward Adam. $175,000? You told me it was $85,000? Adam shifted uncomfortably. The extra was for taxes and fees. $90,000 in taxes and fees? Jessica's voice rose incredulously. Do not lie to me, Adam. What did you do with the rest of the money? Adam ignored her, focusing instead on Jonathan. What are my options here? You need to repay Mr. Johnson the full amount immediately. He has generously agreed not to press criminal charges if restitution is made promptly and in full. I do not have that kind of money just sitting around, Adam protested. We have spent some of it already. Then I suggest you sell whatever you purchased and take out a loan for the remainder, Jonathan said coldly, because your alternative is a criminal record and possible incarceration. Jessica stood up suddenly. This is insane. I am not going to prison because you lied to me, Adam. I want no part of this. Sit down, Jessica, Adam snapped. Nobody is going to prison. He turned to me, his expression changing to one I recognized from his childhood when he had been caught misbehaving. It was the look he used when trying to manipulate my maternal instincts. Mom, surely we can work something out. I am your son. You would not really let them prosecute me. I looked at him steadily, remembering Thomas's words about not letting Adam take advantage of my generous heart. You took the last physical connection I had to your father. You lied about the amount. You spent the money on frivolous things while I sat at home, heartbroken. What kind of son does that Adam? For the first time, genuine shame flickered across his face. I will make arrangements to repay Mr. Johnson, he said quietly. And Mom, I am sorry. I did not think it would hurt you this much. It was just supposed to be a car. It was never just a car, I replied. And I think you always knew that. As they left Jessica shooting daggers at Adam with her eyes, and already making phone calls, presumably to her parents, I felt no satisfaction in their distress. Only a profound sadness that it had come to this, and a quiet determination to reclaim what was rightfully mine. 3 days later, Harold Johnson personally delivered the Mustang to my home. He refused my offer of gas money for the trip, saying it was the least he could do. As the car rolled into its rightful place in the garage, I felt Thomas's presence so strongly it took my breath away. "Your husband created something special here," Harold said, running his hand appreciatively along the car's fender. "It deserves to be with someone who understands its value beyond dollars and cents." I thanked him for his integrity and kindness. Before leaving, he handed me a business card. "Mrs. Dawson, I know this might seem forward, but I could use someone with your eye for detail and appreciation for classics at my dealership. Nothing full-time, just a few days a week, helping customers understand the stories behind these cars. Would you consider it?" The offer caught me by surprise. "Mr. Johnson, I do not know anything about selling cars." He smiled. "You know about loving them, about the stories they carry. That is what my customers connect with. Think about it. No pressure." As I watched him drive away, I realized that Thomas's car had not only returned to me, but had brought an unexpected opportunity along with it. In the months that followed, life changed in ways I never could have anticipated. The Mustang resumed its place of honor in our garage, but it was no longer just a shrine to Thomas. With Harold's encouragement, I learned to drive it myself, something I had never done while Thomas was alive. The first time I took it out on the open road, feeling the power of the engine he had so lovingly rebuilt, I could almost hear his delighted laughter in the rumble of the exhaust. I accepted Harold's job offer, starting with just 2 days a week at Johnson Classic Motors. To my surprise, I found I had a talent for connecting with customers who, like Thomas, saw these cars as more than transportation. I could tell the stories explain the nuances of different restorations and help people find vehicles that would become their own treasured possessions. Through the dealership, I met other classic car enthusiasts who had known Thomas through restoration forums and car shows. They shared stories about him I had never heard about: his generosity in helping others with technical problems, his encyclopedic knowledge of vintage parts, his patience in teaching newcomers to the hobby. My understanding of the man I had loved for 35 years deepened through these new perspectives. Harold became a good friend. Not a replacement for Thomas, never that, but a companion who shared my appreciation for craftsmanship and history. He was a widower himself, having lost his wife to MS 5 years earlier, and understood the complexities of grief and moving forward. Adam and Jessica repaid Harold through a combination of returned purchases, a loan from Jessica's parents, and a second mortgage on their condo. The financial strain and the revelation of Adam's deception created significant tension in their marriage. 3 months after the confrontation in Jonathan's office, Jessica left Adam and filed for divorce. For weeks, I heard nothing from my son. Then one rainy Tuesday in October, I found him sitting on my porch steps when I returned from work. He looked thinner, his expensive clothes replaced by jeans and a weathered jacket I recognized as one Thomas had given him years ago. "Mom," he said, standing awkwardly as I approached. "I did not know if you would want to see me." I studied his face, seeing genuine remorse in his eyes for the first time. "That depends on why you are here, Adam." He handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, 10 pages long. I read it standing there in the rain, my heart breaking and healing simultaneously as my son poured out his regrets, his shame, his gradual understanding of what he had done, not just to me, but to his father's memory. "I do not expect forgiveness," he wrote in conclusion. "But I want you to know that I finally understand what Dad was trying to teach me all those years in the garage. It was never about the car. It was about patience, dedication, and loving something enough to bring it back to life. I threw that lesson away for temporary pleasures and hollow status. I am trying to find my way back to the person you and Dad raised me to be. I looked up from the letter to find Adam watching me anxiously rain, plastering his hair to his forehead in a way that suddenly reminded me of him as a little boy waiting to see if he was in trouble. "Come inside," I said simply. "We have a lot to talk about." Reconciliation with Adam has been a slow, careful process. Trust, like a classic car, requires patient restoration. We started with small steps. Sunday dinners, conversations about Thomas that did not end in arguments. Eventually, time in the garage together, where I taught Adam what I had learned about maintaining the Mustang. The first time I let him drive it again, 6 months after his apology, felt like a significant milestone for both of us. As he carefully backed it out of the garage, treating it with the reverence it deserved, I saw a glimmer of Thomas in his movements, in the way his hands caressed the steering wheel. "Dad would be proud of you, Mom," he said unexpectedly as we cruised along the coastal road Thomas had loved. "You have honored his memory while still living your life. That is what he would have wanted." I smiled, thinking of the pocket watch I now carried, everywhere its inscription a daily reminder. "Time passes, love remains." "Your father was wiser than any of us knew," I replied. "He understood that sometimes we lose our way, but with the right map, we can find our way back." That map for me had been Thomas's hidden letters. For Adam, perhaps, it was seeing the consequences of his actions and finding the courage to face them. For both of us, it was learning that some legacies cannot be measured in dollars and some promises are worth fighting to keep. Now, as I drive the Mustang along the Connecticut coastline, I no longer feel just grief when I think of Thomas. I feel gratitude for his foresight, for the lessons he left for both Adam and me, and for the unexpected gifts that came from the painful journey we traveled. The car that nearly tore our family apart has become the vehicle for its healing. And somewhere, I like to think Thomas is watching a smile on his face as his beloved Mustang continues to bring us together, just as he always intended. Have you ever had something precious taken from you by someone you thought you could trust? How did you handle that betrayal? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to be reminded that even in our darkest moments, hope can find its way back to us in unexpected ways. Thank you for being part of my journey, and until next time, remember that some treasures are worth fighting for, especially those that carry the fingerprints of love.